Hi, welcome back to my studio. I'm Mike Wells, Force Mass Motion, and I'm going to continue now showing you how we go about writing some tracks for my forthcoming album. Right, okay, so second track on the new single. Started talking to some people on Twitter about 303s doing acid tracks. Mal, my mate up in Scotland, I'll give him a cheeky pump. There you go, Mal. There's your new CD. He's done a new acid album, tracks only using the new boutique stuff. Well, I say new boutique stuff. He's got a 909, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, hat off to him as well. Yeah, good stuff, Mel. So I thought I'd write an acid track because I should. Always had a 303. Tell you what, I'll quickly grab it. Right, there's my old 303. 200 quid out of a shop in Brixton back in the day, about 91, 92, something like that. But now worth a lot of money, even though mine's worn quite a lot. You can see where I've been tweaking it a lot, can't you? Cut off and resonance and imp mod. I can't justify sitting here twiddling this all day and breaking it. Now the 303 boutique's out. I did a check on it, and you know what? It's pretty good. So don't have anyone say to you that it doesn't compare, because it does, and it's all right. So don't get over paranoid about the fact you have to have one of these. So I've now got a boutique, and of course, and the best thing is now I can automate my boutique with all the parameters, so I can run it through. Yes, it was good in the back in the day running that live. Perfect. Okay, great. Now it's nice to say, you know what, I want to commit to having that, like a filter sweep like that and a resonance sweep. And I want to switch it from square to that, and then I took it to a gig in a hotel room, and I wrote a riff on it, and brought it back, and plugged it in, and that's on this track. So how good is that? It's got a little speaker in it, you know, that's cool. So yes, that's on this track. I'll tell you what we'll do is let's play the boutique stuff quickly. Right, so I've got two boutiques running on this. I've got a SEO2, which I bought myself as a Christmas present. It's got loads of stuff on it. It's got a sequencer on it, 16 separate sequencer. Yeah, it's awesome. So there's another one of my classic do stabbing kind of sounds. There's a bit of cut off on it as well, which I could use in this track. But I didn't, because I just wanted this kind of Gary Newman dibba 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 dib. You'll hear in a sec without me doing a stupid impression. So here we go. There we go. That's running the SEO2 live via MIDI. Audio goes back live, and then I'm monitoring it with a monitor in, so I know I'm getting it in. I can listen to it and check it that it sits in the mix okay. What I've just done is I've just bounced that back to audio. So now I don't have to run the SEO2 live. On this I'm only going to run an 8-bar loop, because that's all it does. It doesn't need any filter movements or anything on it. And we're going to do exactly the same with the TB03 as well. I don't want the TB03 running from the beginning, so I can have a channel saved for that. It's got all the automation and everything on it. And then here you'll see the 303 coming in chopped with a cut-off and resonance movements here on it, which is great. Now we'll start again from the top, and then we'll go back down everything. I've got this set a little quiet for me to hear here, so I'm just going to bump it up. You know what, it's actually, I've called it crash, but I'm actually using a ride. The reason why I'm using a ride, I don't want a big splash on the beginning, but I'm being kind to DJs here. Now we know the bass line goes dibba 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 off the beginning of this. And what we'll do is I'll just solo out the SEO2 as well. So we've got a bit of an intro. I'm being kind. I wasn't going to be, but I thought I should, because otherwise it's a bore. So when you're in a club, you can either cue it off. There's a vocal on the intro of this. I'll play it to you in a sec. If you want to cue it on beat on the first 8, I'll put a little t there just so that you can cue it. That's probably being a little, I don't know, paranoid, something like that. I don't know, because I've got a vocal. You'll definitely hear that when you want to cue it up. And a CDJ is going to be kind to you as well, because it's going to tell you how fast it is, so you don't have to worry. So I've been there. I've probably, whether or not I come to me, it's a ride, whatever. Again, don't be overly paranoid about these things. Who's going to care whether there's a ride there or not? But it's just going to help some people out, so that's okay. Right, we've got a kick drum. Of course, we've got a kick drum. Let me just move this along, and we've got a kick here. I've still got my SEO2 running, so let's take that off solo. Right, my kick here. Right, on here, I've got my bus compressor. Now, fantastic when I bought Waves, that Waves had the bus compressor, which I always used to use, which I latterly used, which I've set up here on a bus, and it's a DPR 402 BSS one. Complete legend of a bus compressor this is. Now when I've got everything rolling in here, it takes a long time for me to set this up how I like it, but so I'm just sending everything. So you can see, let me drag this screen over, you can see lots of sends to bus compressor. It's a techno track, so all the drums want to go to the bus compressor, so I gain control over everything. I can also gain control over an individual snare or kick or whatever I want before it goes to the bus, but I want the bus controlling the whole chunk of drums, so that they all are pushed in place together, because that's a sound which I personally like. Otherwise they can be individually compressed everywhere, and they don't sit as a whole. That's only for me, but that's the way that I like to do it. So yeah, so that's the bus compressor. So we can now see that running. It will start to flick, but it's only doing 3 dB gain reduction here with the kick running through it. So what I'm looking for is I want to ping. I actually want to ping it at 9 dB, which is a lot, but just so it pings it. And for me, that sounds right. It's a lot. You know, thirds, halves, sixes, you know, as well we know. So yeah, right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to run it with each. I'm going to add each thing in, because otherwise, if I start going through each separate thing, it's not going to make sense to play you each individual thing. Right. Next thing is an 808 Cowbell. I wanted this to have lots of placements of drum. Because it's a techno track, it doesn't have loops in it, so I want each drum percussion piece to have its own place in the mix. So, and especially with an 808 Cowbell, rim shots, things like that, they're nice to poke over there with a nice reverb on it. In here I'm using Revelation Steinberg, because it's got a really nice pre-delay on it, and it's got a nice tail adjustment. You can adjust the level, so I've got it running as an insert here. So I'm not doing sends anymore, because I've started realizing that I'm narrowing myself. If I keep doing sends, I can only use 4 or 6. Well, I've got the possibility of having 50, haven't I? So what was I thinking, in a way? So why not use starting, you know, and I've got CPU. I mean, the CPU is running at a quarter, not even that. So I've got the opportunity to start making the most of this. So just, let's give it a little, let's roll it on a little bit more. So it's just over there with a bit of reverb on it. I kind of wanted to put a bit more on it, but I thought no, because the next thing to come across. Right, we've got a hi-hat that comes in. So let's take that off. So the hi-hat's just over here now. And the hi-hat's got a Roomworks on it and an EQ. The only reason why it's got an EQ, I'll leave the compressor up so you can see what's going on. As we start adding to it, you'll start noticing the gain reduction going down. The hi-hat's a horrible thing off an old Hong Kong trash single back in about 94, 96, something like that. It's got a load of rumble off it, off of a 12-inch vinyl. So I've rolled that off. It's going through Roomworks. And just a nice little bit of placement over there as well. That's why I'm using that. I'm not using Revelation on that. Probably I think at the time it sounded a little bit too much. Let's get the hand and bump that over here. So now we've got the hat. Okay, so we're running at 3 dB. Right, then we move on here. I'm going to add the next thing in. Good old Ariana Grande. Can't remember what the single is. Lovely snare on it though. It's just in a gap by itself. And it's stereo. And it goes like that, right there. So I've got that as it is, straight to the bus compressor. Look how much it pings the bus compressor now as well because of the way this is set up. I think it's just a characteristic of this bus compressor is when you start putting things a little bit more higher frequency in it, it tends to ping it a little bit more. Well, we're going to add to it a 707 hi-hat closed. Just like I used the ride on the brakes track, we want to pick it up a little bit as it comes to the breakdown. Not making a lot of sense because you can't hear the breakdown at the moment. Right, let's roll it back because on the intro, now I'm going to add a clap to it. A clap I wanted to go pow, just because why not? Great. So let's run it. The clap, why is the clap not coming out? Clap, 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 clap. Revelation bus compressor, because it's probably turned off on that one. There we go, great. Running through a Revelation again. Just nice and big, sits right in there, and especially when you're running it. Just gives itself a lot of room. I'll pan it over just to the right actually. I just wanted to play, like I said, I wanted to place everything in this just so it sounds right. I've even got the cowbell placed over there. It's because they're offsetting against the hi-hat. When the hi-hat comes in, hi-hat's over here with a bit of Roomworks just to give it a little bit here, but the rest are now filling in this gap here. Let's move on to where the snare is. Not a lot of percussion, is it? But it's a techno track, so remember we've got the bass line, we've got the 303 to come in here as well. So the next thing, I'll bump this out the way, and then let's tell you what, let's scroll this down. Right, we've got 2 synths in here. I listened to a David Guetta track, a Jack Back track of his, awesome production, and was surprised actually. Don't know a lot of his stuff from the past because when I had stopped doing music, I never listened to his stuff in between. I think it was quite cheesy, but the Jack Back stuff's great. So it gave me 2 ideas for synths on this. We've got a UE Diva on this, and then I've got a Nexus on it as well. RFX Nexus, used to use this a lot back in the day. I tended not to use it very much because I thought it sounded quite thin, but it sounds a lot beefier now, and it's good for this sort of stuff. And the 2 of those work great together. The Nexus is running, let's see where the Nexus is running. The Nexus has got a whole lot of stuff on it. Okay, right, so we've got Nexus running here. Now, what I've got on Nexus is, there's a whole load of inserts that I've got running on Nexus. So we've got a string pad running through it, which is just a standard Access Virus type thing. But it just sounded good. Just sounded like exactly like the one thing that I needed. Well, we've got a chorus. Chorus, Steinberg, why not? 100% spatial, kapow. 37% in the mix. Don't want it full chorus because it's got enough detune on it as it is already. We've got a little bit of low filter ride on it. There's pretty much no high filter ride on it at all, and it's got a bit of delay after it pings, so that's all right. Right, we have got a shaper box on it. Fantastic. Bundle of plugins. Cheap, go get it, brilliant. So yes, as I mentioned before about the David Guetta link with this, I'd read an article, and he said that he was using the shaper box thing because he was being quick and lazy about doing things. Now, quick and lazy is fine, but yes, it works. And what it does is you can set it going off of the tempo of a track. And what this is doing is it's just ducking a volume, but it's ducking a volume in exactly the same way as you could sidechain a compressor. So I could put a compressor on this track and I could duck it with a kick, and it would just do exactly the same. So what we're looking for, and you can hear it ducking under the shaper. You can see it here moving the volume up and down. So all you'd have to do is sidechain a kick and put it in. And then what you do is actually, I've done on another track, is you have the kick running and then you have another channel with the kick on it, but you don't send the kick to the main out. You turn it off, but you set the compressor to still listen to that track, and then you set the kick running all the way across the whole track. So the kick will always sidechain the compressor and ping it. So if you don't want to do that, you can do it like that. So that's a neat alternative to doing it. Right, I want a bit of revelation on it again. Great. So the reason why is that when I come off, hear it just going, perfect, room size, 100%. It's got a nice big delay time on it as well. The mix is quite high as well on it, and that's an insert. And I've got an EQ, and probably I've got an EQ. Look, I'm lowering the bottom end on it. I don't want it interfering with anything. And then I'm giving it a bit of high mid as well, just because I want to get a bit of rasp out of the top end of it, just so it sits there nicely. And yes, that's pretty simple actually, but you get, what a great result you get with it. So now I can get this sort of thing out there. Perfect. Back in Tron land. So let's move this back over. Right, so we've got a Nexus. Nice clap. Delay on that. UE Diva. So let's run the UE Diva up. LD Sacred AZ. It's completely brilliant. Loads of free presets as well out there as well. Get loads of presets with it. So brilliant. And we are using that for, let's turn the MIDI in on it to that. And then we want to flick down the channel. Okay, let's flick down the channel, and that's where it needs to be. It's great down there. That's got a shaper box on it as well, doing exactly the same. I think just after reading this article I thought, you know what, let's try it, see how it sounds in comparison to sidechaining a compressor. So yes, right, we've got a vocal out of my old sound library. You probably heard in one of the earlier little takes, but nice little intro. Right, everything else is muted. There's that. We're going into Soloville now. We should probably do it the other way around. So the vocal, I was messing around with this, and then suddenly I thought, I remember having my DS301 MIDI gate Drama, and you could MIDI it, and I had a 201, which you could feed it with something, and exactly the same as ducking with a compressor. And I'd feed it with a 16s rim shot, and it would listen to the rim shot, and it would chop, but it was really quick as well, especially over MIDI. You know, back in the day, it's great. So now I'm going to start switching it between the full vocal, the ah yeah, and the yeah, great. And I listened to it back and thought, yeah, perfect. I remember doing that sort of stuff, brilliant. And got the effect that I needed. So that is going through a shaper box doing it. I've got a ping pong delay on it to give it a little bit of space, because everything else is just drums, all right? We've just got drums and a bass line. I've not lumped this all together, so you'll hear it. But we want to start moving some stuff around and getting some atmosphere over this thing. We've got the Nexus and the Diva sat there, but they're only used to introduce a change, or introduce an 8-bar, you know, out of the 8-bar loop into the next one. So this vocal is now going to chop and change. Now also I've got Sound Toys. Sound Toys is superb. Bundle of plugins. They've just added another plugin on it as well. Little plate, fantastic. You can just reach for these things in it, and it's really quick. But they've got a thing in it called Little Altar Boy. I've been hearing it everywhere. I kind of messed around with it for a bit. It's going to be really good in the future for me to double track vocals. I'll get my vocalist up here at some point. I used to get her to sing harmonies on things because the technology wasn't there. I'll still get her to do harmony flicks on the ends of double tracks, perhaps. Well, yeah, I will. But you can use this to just thicken a vocal. Again, reading another article about churches, I think they said that they were using it to thicken vocals up just a bit. And you put headphones on even country music and stuff like that, you can start hearing it now. They're pitching it like an octave, and just laying it there, and it makes it sit really nice. So anyway, this isn't me trying to copy it. This is me using it to an overly ridiculous level. To give myself a fifth out of a vocal sample, because I can. So as opposed to, it's got some bypass automation on it. There we go. I mean, it's 4 knobs on it, brilliant. Why do you want to mess around with anything else? Especially when you sat there struggling away with things. Yeah, brilliant. So now I've got 3 different ways of running that vocal. They're all so it's got ping pong to give it some space. It's got revelation to make it just sit with itself, although it's going to be really, really dry. And then I can switch the altar boy on or off, and I can switch the shaper box, the ducker, on or off on it as well. So when we're in a breakdown, we don't necessarily want a ducker running. So these 2 channels here are bypasses. This is the bypass for the shaper box, and this is the altar boy bypass. So I've got more control over the whole thing. So, and then we'll go on to the next one. We'll go on to this one. That's the gated one. This will be a gated one as well, with the altar boy on. And then we go a little bit further on. I may be racing through this a bit, but I'm sure you understand what's going on here. Altar boy on, gate off. Keep going. Back to gate. Nice and simple. I mean, it doesn't really want to be too much. Okay, so now we're down to the most important parts: the 303 and the 202. The O2, I mean. Boutiques. So the 303 is bound. So it ran live in MIDI while I was fiddling around with it. I've got all of the automation running on it. Read the manual, and then I can figure out what controller channels that I need to run the cutoff and the resonance and all that kind of stuff. Set the controller channels up in Cubase, and have the read automation on here when I run it in. So when I'm happy with all that, then I've then bounced it And what I found with the bounce is that the bounce runs before the inserts, which is great. So now all I've got to do is run that audio again, and it'll put it back in again before the inserts, and after turning the original 303 off, which is exactly what I've done. So now on running this, run it from here. Right, plugins, and a transfer over the top. It's like a really dirty compressor, upwards and downwards compressor. Bit brutal. Why not? It's a 303. I mean, honestly. So great, and it looks like I've actually just got it set at default 50%. Yeah, that's okay. The one thing I did find about the OTT is it actually adds scratchiness. So I've got it gated. So the gate's a Steinberg gate, as far as I remember. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it just stops the fuzz coming through when you're not listening to it, because otherwise, when the track's running earlier, you'll still hear the fuzz coming through, and you don't want to, because when you've got a nice quiet bit, you'll hear the fuzz. That may be great, but I don't want to. I don't want to hear that on a pair of headphones or anything. Right, I've got Revelation back on it again. Surprise, surprise. Just to give it a little bit of its own presence. Not very much on it, but again, just to give it its right placement. 40% tail, level, half. That's a fair bit. 15 in the mix, 15%. That's okay. And then I've got a quarter. Duh. Now I should know what that means. All I know is that it's not triplet because I think it goes T, and I hate myself for not knowing what a D is. But anyway, there we are. I'm musical to a point, but I just know that is the right delay to run on that 303 to get it bouncing off of itself. Let's have a quick look just to show you guys. 75% spatial, so it's not going as each delay ping's not going completely wide. It's going to go about where the speakers are, and then we've only got 4% feedback. Otherwise, it interferes with the next notes too much. 20% dry, 20% wet. So now when we run it, just hear it pinging over the top of itself. It doesn't go on too long, so it messes itself either. We've got the cutoff rise coming up here. This is the breakdown. Here we can see with the drums have gone. There we got us. And then now we're in. Resonance all the way up. Actually, you know what? I didn't go all the way out with the resonance. I think where the nth mod was, it was too much. I didn't want it tearing too much either. I just wanted it to be a half sensible thing. So there we go. Right, and then we've got my other boutique. I've got this SEO2 sat here as well. So we'll mute the 303. The Gary Newman bassline type thing. Great. Exactly what I wanted. Programmed that sound myself. Bounced it in exactly the same way. That comes in before the inserts, just like we'd mentioned. And the inserts that we've got on the SEO2. Sound Toys, Devil Lock, brilliant. Just the right amount of crunch off this thing. But I don't want it, it's a bass line. I don't want to crunch the bass out of it. I want a nice round bottom to it, but if there's any mid there, I just want it crunched just a little bit, and it just seems to be great. It's not set to too much. 3 and 4, 3 on the crush, no crunch, slow release. So it's not like a compressor. It's not going to be clicking every time the compressor, you know, because all compressors have an attack time. and you'll hear that compressor clicking. So on a nice slow one, so it doesn't keep having to open itself up each time. I'm assuming that's what they're getting at, and having messed around with it, they're doing these things on purpose, giving you 4 knobs so that you don't have to mess around with it too much, and that's great. So it's just a nice way of giving it the right crunch, nice and quickly. Perfect. Devil Lock, I think, as well has the same issue. I think I'm doing the same here. Yeah, look, I've got a threshold of -40 dB set on this, with it nice and fast, with a semi-slow release. Well, not actually, 150 milliseconds, because the noise coming in. And then I've got an SSL EQ on it, probably a little bit over the top, to be honest, because it's really only that. I think I went for this because it just seemed to be nice and warm, and it was mono, and I've got the Waves bundle as well, which I spent a lot of money on investing on. So in that, yeah, it's a lot of money to spend on the Waves bundle, to be honest. But there are things that I'm reaching for in it. So have a long, hard think about it, and figure out what your budget's going to be, and then you weigh it up. That's all these things are what you prefer, and the way they're going to work for you. So so there we are. So I've got an SL EQ on that. I probably read some online things which were probably leading me towards thinking, oh, that would be really nice, I should do that. I'm justifying spending a lot of money here, probably to myself, but that's no bad thing. Right, so and it's the mainstay of the track as well on this one. It's a lovely bit of analog kit as well. This isn't a repro. This is Studio Electronics actually doing, and you can tell it's analog as well by the tuning on the oscillators, because you actually have to sit here and tune them up until there's no click points on any of this stuff. I can afford to do this now because it's saved. So they don't click on the tune. You have to sit there, and it's a small knob. People have been moaning about it. Okay, yes, it's a small knob, but look at the desk space with a keyboard. And it's cool, because I can go and take this downstairs, and I can mess about on it and program some patches in it, and that's what it was all about for me. When I don't want to be stuck up here all the time in my studio. It's not that big because I'm having a compromise on studio space at the moment. So a great little toy. I'm saying toy. Yeah, it is cool. Go get it. Brilliant. And it's the main part of this track that's going to be released. So fantastic. So there we go. So that's the SEO2, and then the last thing we've got in here is, I thought the only thing this track lacked was a little bit of energy leading in off of the breakdown. So we've got a snare roll in it. That's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? To be honest, whether people are doing it or not, I don't know. I'm not going to be arrogant and say I don't care. But I like it. It sounds all right. There was, people doing massive snare rolls now for years and years. It sounded all right in this. It needed a bit of energy coming out of the breakdown. So why not? And on top of that, I don't think it's anything mad. We'll quickly run it. There you go. It's not too mad. I've got a rise in the background, which is pretty low in the mix, Where are we? Big riser. Yeah, I'm just looking at other one. I'll drag it over. There you are. Look, what's it doing? 12, -12. So that's not a great deal at all. Let's run it back. There you go. Look. Just from one of my sample libraries back in the day, just so that if you're sat there on a pair of headphones, it's quite cool to listen to. Another one of those things along the way, you can put these things in. Yeah, it's it's just sat there. I spent a long time on this trying to get the arrangement right. I didn't put a long breakdown on it. I didn't put a section where it's just the kick drum running for ages. I wanted to be a little bit more interesting than that. I watch these clips on Instagram of people playing in clubs and it's got this big ambient thing and then just a kick drum comes in and everyone goes mad. Okay, brilliant, fantastic. But it is just a kick drum and we've heard a lot of kick drums before. Again, I don't know everything, of course not. Just my take on it. I'm doing the kick drum on the intro, but then the intro is going to be mixed. So there we go. So that's this track. At the moment it's called Oh Yeah, Techno Bounced. That's because I've bounced the audio in. So this will be the second track on my new single. And then this will go on to be part of the album, I think. There's no reason why not. I want to get a couple of singles out and then do an album's worth of material. I've got another thing work in progress now, so that's 3. I've got a couple of vocalists lined up, and yeah, we'll see how it all shapes up. Right, okay, so I just thought I would show you the very early stages of a brand new track. So it's a proper sneak peek, this, and this is again another breaks track. I think I like writing breaks tracks. Yeah, it's cool. They've got a nice energy about them. Whether there's a market for it or not, I'm not overly fussed. I've got my own record label now, so I have Mute behind me publishing. I think they're great tracks to have placed amongst film and TV stuff. I've been very close to getting some big deals with big film and TV things with break stuff, and so why not? Right, so we've started in Machine, and what I've done is yet again I've done kicks and got it all rolling, and more importantly I've just picked 2 loops that go nicely on top of each other. And I bought sound packs off of Native Instruments. They had deals in January for a month where they were half price. So make the most of doing those things, because you never know when you might just find something on a sound pack that might just be an odd one. And that's precisely what I did. That's nice and simple. It's got 2 versions of it. I'll be quite quick through this because it's pretty early. Tin pot drum loop feeding into my group compressor, same way, the BSS. Okay, and then we've got another one which sits on top of it. There's 3 versions of this one, there's 2 of the other, so that's going to give me something to play with in the arrangement later on. Weird things sat over here, like Native Instruments, they put some weird stuff in loops, just sounds great, so that's cool. Okay, so nice and simple with this, 3 versions of that, don't need to hear the other ones, they're not overly important, but for me important because it gives me variance in my arranging. Now, what I've done here is I've moved on a bit, having realised that Groove Agent is going to save me with using my kicks and MIDI. So if I turn the input on, right, here we go. So I've set Groove Agent up on the kicks channel now to give me more variance, because I can quickly flick through swapping kicks out, and the way that I would do that is to just in MIDI bump the note up until I find the right kick, because I can, I've got all these kicks and they're all in there for me to mess around with. Now these are years of collecting kicks, all off of vinyl or not, CDs, everything, ones that poke out and be nice. Some with snares over the top of them, all this kind of stuff. So that's in a kicks Groove Agent now, and snares done exactly the same way. So snares, all MIDI in, that's ready to go. I'll mute that. So now I've got a nice collection of snares. I can quickly flick over those, and then soon you can just pull it around, and then eventually it's like, yeah, that one sounds perfect. Plus effect, you can just, when you're in here, you can do transpose. See there's a button in here, transpose. You just click this up, and it'll just keep transposing them, and then you find the right kick. You know, that's much easier, because then I can arrange them as opposed to having them bounce before. Same with hats. I haven't put hats in on this yet. Probably use those just as a 16s, something like that a little bit later on, you know, with those sections that I do before a breakdown, just to give it a little bit more energy. Probably put them in there. And right, so that's loops. So drums. Great. Okay, that already suggests lots to me in doing this. Headed again for the 106 boutique. Well, actually, the plug-in. Can I have the boutique? I'm gonna just buy it. Look what I've done again. Juno Basic. Probably got it a little bit. A little bit more open this time, actually. Wanted to get it with a little bit more pace on it this time, I think, with the bass line. Went for a chord change on this as well. There's a main reason for that, because the bass line, again, I did the drums and the riff. Then I did a pants bass line. And change the bass line to fit the riff, because then it works better that way around for me. Right. And in actuality, with this track, I found in June another great thing, and then a load of sound banks have just come out for this as well. But in it are just some really cool sounds, which kind of sound a bit more Euro ravey, but it just sounds like a track already. That's not even it in this, but there you go. Gives me a nice chord change in it as well. Okay, the killer, which is the next one, which comes out of Nexus. They're all in there. It's a rompler, so I'll pull it up. And what I've done with this is it's actually just got a compressor on it. And the reason why it's got a compressor on it is because when you start moving the filter around, I mean, I'm a complete sucker for things like that, because it just sounds absolutely superb when it gets cut off down here. It's also got a master filter on it, so you can cut this off and then you can go high pass. So that, for the arrangement in the track later on, when I get into this, is just going to be completely monumental. And like I say, the reason why it's got it on here, make sure I hold this down and keep it held down. What I want to do is I just want to make sure I've got some control over it, because when it's up here, it's only going to be very slight, and especially when I lose this. So I just want it to just keep control of it all the time when I'm doing it, because otherwise it's going to go so quiet and then it's going to go so loud. I've got the release time set quite long on this as well. I don't think I've got the auto release set on it. No, I haven't, because I just want it kept control of. Ratio's not overly high. So that's the killer. And then what I want to do is I want to layer it up with some pads. Just so for a breakdown. Nothing complicated. Oh, these need to be changed, I think. They're just too boring. It's because I'm trying to follow this. It's all right, but I can be a little bit more creative than this, I think. They could just sit down underneath the main arpeggio, but it still works. And then with this on top, great. That's kind of all I'm looking for, really. So what we've got to add to this, we've got to add crash cymbals if we want to. I want to add a vocal to it. Now, I was looking over through old film vocals, and I want to have like an old 60s film vocal that has something to say over the top of it, but I couldn't find one, so I'm probably not going to bother. I might even get a vocoder and do something with that. That could be quite cool. I want it to sound like a Tron kind of, you know, to the future type, you know, this idea in my head of to the future something. I've called it Born to the Future, but, you know, we'll see, work in progress. Yeah, so for a quick blast. It's pretty much there. So then to now, it's got all the parts in a way that I need. I might get my vocalist to sing something over it. One of them's from Eastern Europe, so she might be really cool on this actually. I don't know whether she'll go for it. She's a jazz singer, but she might. Yeah, it might sound really cool. But most of it's there. So yeah. So again, then what we'll do is I'll mute all this out. Copy it across, all the parts and everything that I need, and then I've already got the originals to go back to, and even better now this time round, I've got the kicks in MIDI, the snares in MIDI. Hats, should I need them, crashes, I'll do that as well. I'll get a groove agent up, put all my crashes in. So now I'm starting to build my template up already, so that I'll get a new template done, and I'll put the kicks, the snares, the hats, the crashes in a groove agent, so that I don't have to keep loading them each time and setting them up and picking from them, because it doesn't use much CPU. I think the main killer on this is Nexus and June. Diva probably as well. I'm saying that because they're the synths, but yeah, it's on its way. So this will definitely be an album track. I'm really pleased with this, and it took me about an hour to whip this up as well. So you know, when things are going right and you just happen to stumble across the right sounds, then it all kind of falls into place, which is great. Okay, that's either at the end of this tutorial, and I hope you've learnt a few things. But please stop by my Instagram, Force Mass Motion, my Twitter, Force Mass Motion as well. I've got a Bandcamp page as well, so you can go and grab all of the old and upcoming new singles. And you're more than welcome to just give us a shout if you've got any questions or anything like that. Hope you enjoyed watching.